Today, across Canada, something is stirring that no one expected. For years, the conversation about separation, independence, and breaking free from Ottawa's grip was almost entirely centered on Alberta. The oil sands, the pipelines, the tax battles, the energy fights, these were the markers of Alberta's discontent. But now, a small and often overlooked territory has stepped into the storm with a move that has shocked the entire country. Yukon, remote, quiet, rugged, and often left out of Canada's biggest political debates, is suddenly aligning with Alberta, and what they just announced has set off alarm bells from coast to coast. Let's break this down. Alberta's story is well known. Premier Danielle Smith has been fighting a relentless battle with Prime Minister Mark Carney. Ottawa's demands on emissions, on taxes, and on national control over energy resources have been seen in Alberta as nothing short of suffocation. And when Alberta started openly talking about separation, Ottawa dismissed it as political theater. "They'll never go through with it," was the common phrase heard in federal corridors. But now, Alberta is not standing alone. Yukon's move changes the equation dramatically. Why? Because Yukon's decision is symbolic and strategic. On its own, the territory is small, with fewer than 50,000 people. But its geography makes it powerful. It borders Alaska, the United States, and it has deep connections with resource industries that Ottawa has been trying to regulate more tightly. By siding with Alberta, Yukon is not just joining a protest, it's drawing a line on the map of Canada. It's saying, if Alberta can break free, maybe so can we. Think about what this means. A province as powerful and wealthy as Alberta paired with a territory that connects directly to America through Alaska. Suddenly, the conversation isn't just about pipelines running east or west, it's about creating a corridor north to south. A potential trade route. A potential alliance. A potential escape hatch for provinces and territories fed up with Ottawa's heavy hand. And let's be clear, Yukon's frustration didn't appear overnight. For years, Yukoners have felt ignored, treated as an afterthought in national politics. When major infrastructure funds get handed out, Yukon is often last in line. When resource projects are proposed, Ottawa swoops in with red tape and restrictions. And when Yukoners speak up, they're drowned out by the larger provinces. So when Alberta took a bold stand, Yukon saw something more than rebellion. They saw a mirror of their own struggles. Here's where things get even more tense. Prime Minister Mark Carney, already under immense pressure after Alberta's escalating moves, now faces a growing coalition of anger that stretches far beyond Alberta. He expected Saskatchewan might join Alberta, maybe even parts of BC, but Yukon? This was never in Ottawa's playbook. The symbolism of a Northern Territory breaking ranks with the federal government has rattled Ottawa in ways few could imagine. Because if Yukon can side with Alberta, what stops the Northwest Territories? What stops Nunavut? What stops this anger from spreading like wildfire across the map? And don't forget the American angle. Yukon's alignment with Alberta raises a chilling question. Is this the first step toward deeper ties with the United States? Remember, Donald Trump is back in the White House. He has already made comments about Alberta's energy being a gift to America if Ottawa keeps messing it up. Now, imagine Alberta and Yukon together, positioning themselves as willing partners with Washington while Ottawa struggles to hold on. The strategic implications are staggering. Think of it, pipelines routed through Alaska, Yukon acting as a northern gateway for Alberta's oil, and Trump standing ready to cut deals that Ottawa would never allow. For Alberta, this is leverage. For Yukon, it's survival. And for Ottawa, it's a nightmare. But it's not just economics, it's identity. Canada has always seen itself as one country from sea to sea to sea, bound together by shared sacrifice and common purpose. But in recent years, that glue has started to crack. Western alienation, regional inequality, now even northern alienation. The very edges of the Canadian map are starting to peel away. And once those cracks open, they don't close easily. Premier Danielle Smith has already praised Yukon's courage, calling it a sign that Alberta is not alone. Meanwhile, Yukon's leaders have made it clear they're tired of being dictated to by Ottawa. They want real control over their resources, their future, their voice. And in Alberta, this partnership is being celebrated as a game changer. For years, Alberta's critics mocked them. You'll never leave. You'll never have allies. You're bluffing. But now, the bluff is looking more like a carefully laid strategy. Let me ask you this. What happens if other provinces and territories start falling in line? Saskatchewan is already restless. Manitoba has its own grievances. British Columbia is split, with northern communities furious at Ottawa's interference in resource projects. Even Atlantic provinces are grumbling about being left behind while Ottawa spends billions in Ontario and Quebec. Suddenly, the idea of a united bloc against Ottawa doesn't sound so far-fetched. And that is what scares Ottawa the most. Not Alberta acting alone, but Alberta leading a movement. A movement where provinces and territories, one by one, start questioning the cost of staying in a Canada that no longer seems to respect them. The Yukon announcement is a spark. It may be small, but sparks ignite fires. And in the dry landscape of Canadian politics, where frustration has been building for decades, it doesn't take much for that fire to spread. The real question now is, can Ottawa put it out, or has the blaze already started? Prime Minister Mark Carney has called for an emergency meeting, urging calm, warning about reckless moves that threaten national unity. But Canadians are asking themselves, who's really being reckless here? Alberta, for demanding control over what they produce? Yukon, for daring to demand respect? Or Ottawa, for refusing to listen until the country itself begins to fracture? And make no mistake, the rest of the world is watching. Investors, allies, even adversaries see the headlines. Canada divided, provinces and territories questioning their place. What does that do to confidence? To security? To Canada's image as a stable democracy? These are the questions haunting Ottawa tonight. But out west, and now in the north, the mood is different. It's not fear. It's defiance. People in Alberta and Yukon are saying, why should we keep sacrificing while Ottawa reaps the benefits? Why should we keep waiting for respect that never comes? This is not just a policy debate. It's a showdown over the future of the country. And tonight, Canada feels more fragile than ever before. And so, I'll leave you with this. What happens when the quietest voices like Yukon suddenly find the courage to shout? What happens when Alberta, long mocked for threatening to leave, suddenly has allies in unexpected places? The answers will shape the destiny of this country and whether Canada, as we know it, will survive. Because one thing is clear, the map of Canada may look the same tonight, but beneath the surface, the borders are shifting. And the cracks are only getting wider.